We have a great show lined up for you this week filled with a bunch of video game news. We're introducing you to 6 brand new video games. The photos of the Nintendo Switch 2 that we've all been waiting for have just leaked online. EA has rejected plans for Dead Space 4. SEGA wants to launch a subscription service. And 'tis the season for leaks and rumors because we have a ton of leaks surrounding Marvel Rivals. All of this and so much more on this week's episode of the Nerf Report. Can you see me? Let's just film the video.
Zip it! The ghost of Macho Man Randy Savage is here!
Oh my god! Yes, negativity sells, and it sure as hell makes clicking your thumbnails a lot easier. But I, as a gamer, as a nerd, as a creator, I am so tired of being upset for clicks.
Are you listening?
Ho, 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 ho!
Welcome, strangers from distant lands and friends of old. You've been summoned for another episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you so much for joining me this week. This is the last show of 2024. I kind of wanted to pause there because someone would be like, this is the last show? Oh no! Like, I'm sure someone out there is freaking out, but no, this is the last show for 2024. And 2024, looking back on it, was a really weird year for the show because we started super hard, but midway through, I pretty much lost all passion that I had for not just video games, but also just like content creation. And I genuinely did not think that this show was going to survive. And, you know, you guys don't see it on this end, but internally here on the show, I refer to this as Nerf Report Season 2 because I really do feel like this is the second season of the show because it's completely different than anything we've created before. It feels like its own unique show, and it feels like we're moving in a different direction. In the beginning of the year, it was kind of rough because I felt like we were just spoke on a wheel. We were just spinning. We weren't really creating content that I enjoyed. And then, you know, what are we on, like episode 9 now? And here we are 9 weeks in, 2 months in, and it's legit. I'm happier than I've ever been with the content we're creating, and you guys seem to be positively responding to it. And the proof is in the statistics and the analytics. Like, we just hit 17,000 subscribers on this channel. I know that's a far way from IGN, but like, to see that more and more people are finding our content and more people are like, wow, this is really cool. I want more of this. It does mean a lot to me, and it shows that we made the right decision in kind of pursuing this direction. So thank y'all for hitting that subscribe button. If you haven't done so already, do indeed hit that subscribe button because we've got some big plans going into 2025. Obviously, this show is going to continue moving on, but we've got some new stuff coming for our Nerf Gaming News members. And speaking of our Nerf Gaming News members, this show is brought to you ad-free thanks to the Nerf Gaming News casual friends and best friends. You too can become a Nerf Gaming News friend, casual, or best friend. That's right, for the low price of $1.99, you can help this channel create content, support independent games media, and get access to exclusive content like The Daily, which is our daily video game news roundup that's posted every single weekday, giving you the video game news of the day. A teaser, we got a new show coming for Nerf Gaming News members who will have first access to a brand new show called Coming Soon. So if you're interested in that show or any of the other Nerf Gaming News members exclusive content, please consider supporting our channel. Much appreciated. Now, first story of the week, we are obviously talking about those Nintendo Switch 2 photos and we are breaking them down. However, before we do that, I do have a brand new video game to introduce you to. This is a deep sea diving action adventure game with a twist of horror. This is Beneath. Yeah, let's talk about those photos of the Nintendo Switch 2 that have been shared online. And just in case you're joining us for the first time, welcome to the countdown to the Switch 2. Yeah, for those of you wondering, where does your ad revenue go? Right there. You know, We joke, but like this is literally the biggest story in the gaming industry right now. Nintendo is reportedly about to announce the Nintendo Switch 2 starting in January. So sorry to the kids who got the Nintendo Switch this Christmas. The Nintendo Switch 2 is literally coming out a couple weeks later. However, this story is a little unique because last week's show we talked about how someone by the name of Next Handheld went on Reddit and they were like, I've seen it. I've seen the Nintendo Switch 2. Ask me anything. AMA, OMG. And they went into a ton of details. It was like, hey, this is what the bezel looks like. This is what the dock looks like. Here's some cool features. Here's a game that might be coming with it. And a lot of people were like, we want proof. And he's like, I'll give you proof. I took photos, but I'll give you those photos on Christmas. And so the entire internet, we're sitting there. We're waiting. Presents are opening. We're looking at our stockings. But the whole time, what are we doing? We're pulling on our phone. I'm refreshing Reddit while my kid's opening up her Disney Princess Barbies. I'm just like, I'm glad you got that, but hold on. Switch 2. And I'm just refreshing Reddit. And boy, oh boy, was the wait worth it, because the photos we got were images of the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, which obviously is rounded, like Next Handheld was saying, but it also gave us a photo of a side profile of the Nintendo Switch, which we can only assume are magnets that the Joy-Cons connect to. Personally, there's a bunch of school of thoughts that I have here. One, if this is truly the real photos of the Nintendo Switch 2, why hasn't Nintendo taken it down? And remember, we're talking about the company that hands out lawsuits like candy on Halloween. You know, someone's like, trick-or-treaters come to Nintendo's door and they're like, oh, you're dressed up as a Pokemon. And he's like, actually, I'm a pal. And Nintendo's like, give me that candy back, you kid. But again, I mean, that's the thing. And these photos have been up for 48 hours. Still not taken down. And I guarantee you, if these were the real photos, Nintendo would take them down. Now, granted, these photos were posted on Christmas. And that's the part where I'm like, maybe no one at Nintendo has been able to get to this. However, knowing a few lawyers, they're not afraid to work holidays. And I bet you they're chomping at the bits to be like, what's that, Nintendo? You want me to do what? Yeah, let's do it. Here's my bill. And again, if the photos get taken down, I think that'll be the best evidence to the fact that this is real. Now, the second school of thought I have with this is like, okay, these could be real, right? They look real enough, and it looks like stuff that I'd be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you look at the actual photos of the dock, there's details in it that also I'm like, wow, that's a lot of detail to put into it for it to be a fake image. One of them in particular is like the UL, the ETL, all of like the safety listings that are on the back of the dock that are listed there. That's a detail that I'm just like, if someone was going to fake this, I don't know if they would go into that much effort. You also look at things that like the Switch 2 and like the bezel, and just like, man, that's a lot of info. And it's just, yeah, maybe the guy was working on it for like 3 to 4 months, and they're like, okay, hey, I'm going to fool the internet and send them on a wild goose chase. And yeah, sure. But I also am just like, why would you waste so much of your time to make these fake? I guess, I don't know. And then I guess that third school of thought is that like, yeah, these are fake. Right? I've seen so much conversation over the last day and a half of people being like, these are fake. You know, people zooming into the photos and enhancing and just being like, look at the edges surrounding the dock. It looks like it's been cropped out and put over a new background. To which some people were like, well, hey, he probably cropped it and put it over a new background to protect his, identity, so they don't know who this is. And then I saw someone else who was like, we put this into an AI detection generator, and it said that this image was 91% AI generated. I'm like, okay, well, what's the 9%? What 9% was not produced by? Are we talking about the dock? Because then, yeah, see, maybe that's the part he did crop out. And who knows? I mean, and this is the thing that terrifies me about like social media and AI, is that we're not going to know anything, right? We're going to go online and we're going to see things that look way too real to be true, and we're going to be like, oh wow, that video looks really good. And I guess I always say like paranormal, right? Anytime you look at a paranormal video, you can always find things and you're like, that's probably fake, or yeah, that never really happened. But I've seen so many AI videos over the past couple weeks where I'm like, I don't know if I could tell if that was fake or not. And I guess when it comes to like gaming and gaming news, when you looked at like the PS4 prototypes, like the controllers that used to come out, and they were like, you could tell that they were kind of fake. We're going to get to a point where like the PlayStation 6 comes out where like AI is generating controllers, and we're like, man, that might be the controller. And who knows? This story might be dedication. You know, I'm saying PlayStation 6, but this could be an AI-generated console, and none of us can determine whether it's real or whether it's fake. And the fourth school of thought, I guess, that I'm seeing right now is a lot of people are like, okay, well, maybe they're faked images, but they're based off of real things. And I saw someone, Pyro, who's like a Nintendo leaker, he was like, okay, hey, this is actually like the Switch 2 logo that I have personally seen on documents, so I can confirm that. And maybe someone took like a 3D printer and they created a mock-up, and that's what we're seeing here. Again, it's weird. And not to get like off subject again, but like when it comes to conspiracies or theories or stuff like this, it's just one of those that I'm like, if you were to sit in front of me and say that this is a microphone, and I'd be like, well, no, that's a pen, right? The majority of us would look at it and we'll say, this is a pen. But on the internet, someone would be like, this is a microphone. And you're going to have like 10 or 12 people that'll be like, yeah, that is one. And then they'll defend that it's a microphone because they'll say, well, his finger is covering the cord, so you're not seeing the cord. And that tip is not a tip, it's actually where you talk into the microphone. And this is a brand new Sharpie pen microphone, and the CIA has been using microphones. Like, they'll defend it just because they want to, and that's where I am right now. Is like, I really had to pull myself back because personally, as much as I want these images to be real, I don't think that they're real. Like, I want to believe. I want to believe that these images leaked and we're seeing the first images of the Nintendo Switch 2, but I just can't. And I guess the things that I'm struggling with is like when you look at the dock and we see the Nintendo Switch 2 logo, as someone that's pretty efficient in Photoshop, I look at that and I'm like, it doesn't really look like the back of a dock, and it looks more like someone put the Nintendo Switch 2 logo over it and just put opacity to like 10. And then I also look at like the photo of this individual holding the console on its side, and the first thing I notice is that their watch is over their sweater, and I'm just like, that's a really weird style or a really weird concept. Like that you're gonna put your watch over your clothes. I just, maybe that's a trend in Asian culture. Maybe it's because I know this person says they're from Japan, so maybe that's something that you do in Japan, but I don't know. I've never seen that before, and it just seems kind of something like AI would mess up on. Right? Like AI can't do fingers. Maybe AI doesn't know that you don't put your watch over your clothes, you put it on your skin. And I think like the final thing that's stopping me from believing that these images are real is that Nintendo hasn't shut them down. Because trust me, Nintendo is the most litigious company in the history of video games. They used to take down videos like this that talked about Nintendo on YouTube just because they wanted to make the monetization on these videos and they wanted to be the only people talking about Nintendo. Like, they are not going to let stuff like this leak. So that to me is the most damning part. But either way, whether the images are real or whether they're fake, the good news is the Nintendo Switch 2 is reportedly being revealed in January, so we're not going to have to wait much longer. And I've seen like conversations of like the first week or second week. We're not going to speculate there because like when it happens, it happens. We'll obviously be talking about it here on the show, so stay tuned there. And then they're talking about releasing the Nintendo Switch 2 in March. So we'll have this in our hands within the matter of 3 months. So January, you've got the announcement. March, you have the release. And then come this time next year, all the Nintendo executives are just going to be in a conference room like, woohoo, Nintendo Switch 2! And like we just said, we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 very heavily as we go into the next year. So if you want more Nintendo Switch news, make sure to stick right here and hit that subscribe button. And before we jump into the news of EA not wanting to pursue Dead Space 4, we have a brand new game to talk about. This one is a VR action-adventure game where players join the Scout Regiment and slay Titans. Without further ado, here is Attack on Titan VR Unbreakable. apparently EA has rejected the idea of making a brand new Dead Space game. Yeah, this news dropped this week when the creators of Dead Space were on the Dan Allen Gaming channel for an interview. If you're not aware, you got Glenn Schofield, Christopher Stone, and Brent Robbins. And Dead Space is a game that I was introduced to very recently. It originally launched in 2006, but after I played Callisto Protocol, everyone I talked to was like, dude, you gotta try Dead Space. So I picked up the remake that launched last year, and the game is really good. You know, it's a horror survival video game, so it's right up my alley. And, you know, even though like the mechanics and like the concept are kind of like older, I would still put that game up against like any of the horror games that are releasing today. I mean, it is a super solid video game. So anyway, during the interview, Glenn Schofield shared that the three of them recently sat down with EA and pitched the company on a Dead Space 4. However, according to Schofield, EA was not interested in pursuing this project. Schofield said on the podcast, they just said, we're not interested right now. We appreciate it, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, we know who to talk to, so we didn't take it any further. And we respected their opinion. They know their numbers and where they have to ship and all of that so. And then Christopher Stone, the other creator, jumped in on the podcast saying, the industry's in a weird place right now. People are really hesitant to take chances on things, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. Who knows? Maybe one day I think we'd all love to do it. And it's kind of shocking to me that EA didn't pursue this because, granted, I'm saying this as someone that's like new to the franchise, but this feels like it would have been an easy layup for EA. And I looked up Callisto Protocol. That sold like 2 million copies. I don't know how Dead Space, the remake, performed. And maybe that's what EA is going off of. And they're like, the remake didn't really hit the number we hit, so we're really not going to pursue a 4. But then the other thing that this pursued me to do is be like, what else does EA have going on that they aren't interested in this? So I did some digging. So EA, as far as like active projects go, you've got Star Wars Jedi Part 3, right? You got the follow-up to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We reportedly have a new Mass Effect game in the works. EA Motive is working on an Iron Man video game. We obviously have Skate that is coming. Battlefield will have a brand new chapter, hopefully launching next year. EA Sports is working on college football, FC, and of course Madden. And then you got the continued support of Apex Legends. So, you know, clearly EA has enough on their plate, but it does kind of feel like a missed opportunity for EA. But again, I am just a dude in the garage who talks about video games, and EA is filled with tons of corporate suits who can say like, yes, we'd make money. No, we wouldn't make money. Would I like to see a Dead Space 4? You bet your ass. 100% I want more of that series. But, you know, again, I don't think we should say that like EA's completely shut the door. I think all three creators agreed like, hey, they said no right now. It doesn't mean that we're never going to see this. We could still see this someday down the pipe. But like right now, Dead Space 4 isn't happening. Now up next, we're going to be diving into the newly leaked details surrounding Marvel Rivals Season 1. But before we do that, we have a brand new video game to introduce you to. This one is a third-person roguelike shooter that looks super awesome. Check out a brand new game called Warden's Will. Details surrounding Marvel Rivals Season 1 have just leaked online, and this is a pretty big leak because it gives us our first look at potential new characters, new team-ups, new locations, and obviously some new ranked details coming for the game as well. Now, this leak comes from X-user XOXLeak, and I am going to butcher that because that is a tongue twister for me. XOXLeak showed off brand new images of potential characters over on X, including Captain Marvel, Jean Grey, White Queen, Angela, Hitmonkey, and Deadpool. Now, Deadpool feels like a no-brainer. You know, you obviously got like Marvel's Jesus right there, but like everywhere you look, Deadpool is big, and I think Deadpool would fit perfectly into like the Marvel Rivals gameplay. Captain Marvel and Jean Grey, I think that both of those are going to be super cool in game. I would love if they just made Jean Grey so OP, like we get like her ultimate is turning into the Phoenix, like that would be so sick. White Queen, Angela, Hitmonkey, those are cool. Look, this is one thing Rivals does really well. Marvel Rivals has some very deep cuts. Like, I would go on a limb and say Squirrel Girl isn't as much of a deep cut as she used to be, but like the fact that we have Hitmonkey coming to this game, I would go out on a limb and say like 70% of Marvel fans don't know who Hitmonkey is, and I think that is super cool that they're giving lesser known characters their time to shine in the Marvel universe. Now, XOX Leak went on to share potential team-ups for the game. Squirrel and Raccoon were listed, Storm and Human Torch, Wolverine, The Thing and Hulk, Wolverine and Phoenix, Emma Frost and Psylocke, and Emma Frost and Magneto. As for potential new levels for Marvel Rivals, XOX Leak shared new locations such as Caracal, Araco, and New York. New York would be pretty fun. Especially since like Marvel Rivals kind of has like a little bit of a destructible environment. Like I know you can knock down a couple towers. So it'd be cool if you could like literally turn New York into like Avengers 1 where it's the invasions going on and the city just looks destroyed. Plus, you also have like the added benefit of like cars and buses and taxis. And it's like, can you hide behind them? Can the Hulk pick up a car and throw a car? Like that would be definitely super cool. Now, that's not everything from this leak. XOX Leak also shared the first image of the first season of Ranked, and the last bit of news from it are player icons, including Sharon, Rogers, and Deadpool. And this is the part where it gets kind of tricky, because this is just someone posting on social media. So again, take this all with a grain of salt, but a lot of it kind of goes hand in hand with some of the other details we've heard. Season 1 of Marvel Rivals, I believe, is like January, so we're, again, days away from finding out. So we'll obviously be keeping you updated on that. We'll be talking about it on the Daily Show. And the game, again, Marvel Rivals is killing it. They've had a fantastic launch. The game already hit 20 million players, which is absolutely absurd for a game this successful. And everyone I've talked to who's played it absolutely adores it. It is a very fun game, and it is the rage of the internet. Now, obviously, stick here for more Marvel Rivals news, but we're going to be diving straight into this story about SEGA launching a subscription service. However, before we do that, we have a new game to introduce you to. This one is a steampunk chocolate factory simulator called Chocolate Factory Simulator. SEGA has told the BBC that they want to start their own subscription service. Yeah, this story was kind of surprising because we don't really hear a lot from SEGA, but when we do, it's like very thoughtful conversations. So Sega's president, Shugi Utsumi, sat down with the BBC, and he said that subscription products are very interesting and that his firm is evaluating some opportunities, expanding that by saying we're thinking of something and discussing something we cannot disclose right now. So obviously the speculation here is like, okay, hey, we might get a Sega subscription service. And on one hand, I'm like, cool, you got Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, Luna, Amazon Prime, GeForce, Ubisoft Plus. So why not just put another leech on my wallet and just be like, give me another subscription service, my friend. But on the other hand, I'm just like, okay, this could be cool, right? A Sega subscription service could have the potential to be really sick, especially if they put this on like preloaded on televisions and preloaded on streaming sticks. You know, have it be a cloud-focused service where you just install an app on your TV, and for $5.99 or $4.99 a month, you can play some of the classics or even some of the modern titles, and then just make it work with like every controller under the sun. I mean, imagine the benefit of playing games like Sonic on your TV. You know, you have no installs, and you're like, man, I really want to show my kids this game, and it's like, boom, here's the Sega app, install Sega. I would also be interested in like what impact that would have on like those emulator boxes, like those total sketchy $29 gets you 500 video games that you plug into your TV and connect it to your Wi-Fi. Super sketched out by those things, and I feel like having a Sega service would kind of address that, because I think a lot of the reason people are buying those is not only because you get like 5,000 games, but it's also because I really want to play Sega Sonic, and I really want to play like a Crazy Taxi, and it's like there's really no good way to do that, where if you had a streaming service that had it, I definitely see the business model beginning to kind of develop there. The other side is like load this up with Sega titles, right? Put Bayonetta on there, put Sonic, put Football Manager, Crazy Taxi, Streets of Rage, House of Dead, maybe even Wonder Boy. Like load this thing up, keep it at a low cost. Yeah, 100% Sega could pull this off. And who knows, Xbox Game Pass has like Ultimate, and they have it where like you get EA Play. It could be a section of Game Pass where it's like, hey, you get Xbox Game Pass, but you also get the Sega subscription in there. I totally could see the market for this. However, I would proceed with caution, because I really do think that we're on a subscription bubble. I mean, hell, we have a subscription here where people give us money every single month, and at some point, people are going to look at their wallets and be like, why am I paying this? And it's just going to pop. And I don't know. I guess I just sit back and I'm like, at first, I don't like the idea of a Sega subscription. And then like I hear it again and I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I could, that'd be pretty cool. But then I'm like, nah, I don't really think we're here. But then I'm like, oh, no, I would really like to play Sonic and just have like a very casual way to play it. Even if it's on my phone, that would be pretty cool. But then I'm also just like, you're 5-6 years late. I literally feel like the kombucha girl who's just like, do I like it? Do I not like it? It's just, it's kind of a weird spot to be in here. However, oh, that's interesting. The subscription tier does kind of open Sega up to being able to have their own audience again. And I guess what I mean by that is like for Sega to have a streaming service, it would give them a direct connection to their audience. You know, the players who love their games. There's no longer a middleman like Xbox or Nintendo or PlayStation. They just have direct communication and they know what their players like. They know what they want to play. And that subscription services in many ways would almost work as like a modern console, allowing Sega to basically be like, we're back. We have art. If you want to play Sega games, play them right here. So, I don't know. I kind of like that. When you look at it from that lens, I think I'm all in. That if Sega has a subscription service and that becomes Sega's new platform, I do like that. I do like that for them. And what's interesting, and it kind of fills into this, is Utsumi was talking about like the future of Sega, and he said like Sega can't just survive as like a nostalgic company. And for Sega to continue as a company, it needs to innovate. And what better way to innovate than to reach back out to your audience, the people who love the content you make. So yeah, Sega, let's see it, man. 2026, knock it out. Now, up next, we're going to be talking about Stalker 2 and whether or not the game will be coming to PlayStation 5. But before we do that, we do have one more game to talk about. This one is a tech noir psychological survivor horror video game called HOLLOWBODY. Will Stalker 2 come to the PlayStation 5? Yeah, this was kind of a surprising conversation this week because, as you may know, Stalker 2 is available right now for PC and Xbox, but it's always that conversation of like, well, when's it come to PlayStation? And I guess like, because I'm in it so much, I know that, but there's a lot of gamers out there that are like, why isn't this game here? And they don't understand of like exclusivity or developers not having contracts. And this week, the interview that dropped was with a Tech for Gamers, where Stalker 2's game director essentially said that, like, don't expect it anytime soon. Like, Stalker 2, we have zero plans for it. And if you're not aware, Stalker 2, it's a fantastic first-person shooter horror game. It sold 1 million copies, and the game has already turned a profit, so it's the studio's riding very, very high right now. And for me, it was one of the most surprising games of the year. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but then when I played it, it was like, dude, Stalker 2 is great. Now, the game's director, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher this name, Ivgen Gigor. We're just going to put his name right here. They said in the Tech for Gamers interview that the studio was fully focused on developing the game for PC and Xbox, and that obviously kind of raised the question in the interview of being like, well, what about PlayStation 5? Maybe this is a time exclusive. Are we going to see this come to PlayStation in a year? Maybe this time exclusive is only 3 months long. To which the game director, to their credit, pretty much just shot that down, and they're like, we're not going to comment on rumors, we're not going to comment on leaks, and we're not going to comment on speculation. Again, the PC and Xbox Series X and S versions of Stalker 2 are the only ones we have developed and are supporting. So listen to what they're saying. The PlayStation 5 version hasn't even been made yet. Now, I am just a dude who talks about video games in his garage and likes to play them. And I've made a couple small games before, but it's my understanding that what is required to take a game and put it on Xbox, you can't just take that game and just put it on PlayStation and then it works. It's a completely different coding system, a completely different infrastructure. It takes time, it takes resources, it takes people to convert that game to PlayStation. It's a completely different infrastructure. So to program Stalker 2 for the PlayStation 5, it would be a process that would take many, many months. And if none of that has been done yet, at best, we're looking at 2026. And if there's an exclusivity timer on that, 2027. But again, and I cannot stress this enough, listen to the words of the developer. They are saying a PlayStation 5 version hasn't been made and there are no plans for it. So please, do not expect for this game to appear next year and be like, I can't wait for Stalker 2. Stalker 2 likely won't be coming to the PlayStation 5 anytime in 2025 or 2026 at best. I mean, unless they figure out a way to like backdoor Game Pass onto the PlayStation 5 and then you can cloud stream it, and someone's that day is going to come into my video and be like, actually, Stalker 2 is now available, playing it via Game Pass. And it's like, cool, man, this video is like 2 years old. Thanks, appreciate it. But anyway, Stalker 2, no plans for it to come to PlayStation 5. Not a big heartbreaker for me there, because obviously I have Xbox, but if you're a PlayStation fan, I can see that being a big deal. But anyway, before we wrap up the show, I did want to take an opportunity to introduce you to one last game to close out 2024. This one is a sequel to the horror video game Bridge. This one is called The Bridge, Curse 2, The Extrication.
Where the fuck am I?
Hey, big shot director. What about your crazy, super viral dope-ass film? Now we're not even gonna shoot it?
Let's do it.
My classmates said all sorts of creepy stuff happened in that classroom, so they turned it into a storage. Really? Any wish?
Draw the seal and write your wish on the paper. Say it with us.
So the mad ballerina is real.
He used dark geomancy to haunt the Ballroom building. It's the military instructor.
And that's kind of it for this week's show. This was a very slow news week with the Christmas and New Year holiday coming up, but I definitely wanted to make sure I got in front of you guys with the little bit of gaming news that there was, but also just to say Happy New Year's. Thank y'all so much for your continued support. I look forward to creating content for all of you in 2025, and I hope you continue to enjoy it, continue to support it. And if there's ever anything that I can do to make this show better, to make it more appealing to you, please let me know in the comment section. Shoot me a DM over on social media. I would be happy to help. Big plans for 2025. And I know that sounds like something that every content creator says towards the end of the year, but looking toward 2025, I'm very optimistic at the future of the show, but I'm also very optimistic at some of the opportunities that are coming. I mean, we got freaking Grand Theft Auto 6 potentially launching next year. The first quarter, we got Nintendo Switch 2. So not only do we have a new console launching, so we have tons of content to talk there, but we're going to buy it, we're going to have it in our hands in March, we're going to play around with it, do reviews, do videos. Very excited for that. And I'm also excited for some of the other content that we have coming for Nerf Gaming members and also for everybody else on the channel. So, but anyway, I do have to sign off. Thank y'all so much for spending this weekend with me and for watching our show. I hope you have a very safe and happy New Year. Oh, shoot, before I forgot, I meant to mention this in the beginning of the episode. Just in case you're watching this on New Year's Eve, whatever the length of this video is, I think it's probably going to be like 40 and some change or something like that. But anyway, take that time, subtract it from midnight, start the episode then, and then this moment right here is when the clock will turn 12. Happy New Year, enjoy 2025, and we'll see you in the next video. All the Nintendo executives are just going to be in a conference room like... Those too heavy. Too heavy, maybe. Take some out. Too heavy. Nintendo Switch 2! Wow, that went way too fast. Oh, I spilled bourbon all over myself.